Thank you very much. Dr. Loum, if you have any concluding remarks to make, please proceed to do so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Honorable Commissioners, Lead Counsel, and all other councils, ladies and gentlemen, my family members and so forth, friends, I wish to express my sincere gratitude to the TRRC for according me the opportunity to share with you, and by extension the wider public, the experience I lived through during the most trying times of my life. As a nation, we lived through horrendous human rights violations unleashed by Yahya Jammeh and his gang of thugs against civil servants and other ordinary Gambians. As I said earlier, to set the record straight, as civil servants, we did not work for Yahya Jammeh, but rather we serve our country as career professionals with no political affiliations. My career in the civil service spanned over a period of 3 decades. Thus, in the early days, I had the opportunity to work in a public service that was once rated among the best in Africa. Unfortunately, I also witnessed the process during which the institution was degraded beyond recognition. Core principles, considerations, and values were eroded, and appointments were no longer based on merit, qualification, experience, or competence, but rather on political affiliations, nepotism, and psychopathy. As a country, if we wish to forge ahead and join the community of nations that are making strides and headways towards meaningful progress, then there must be a paradigm shift towards the following: carrying out key reforms in the civil service, the security sector, including the horrible prisons, the judiciary, that will allow for speedy trials, but also just dispensation of justice, limiting the power of the executive in the new constitution to avoid repetition of the excesses of the former regime. In this regard, appointment of judges, head of parastatals, and SOEs should be subjected to a confirmation process with the National Assembly taking a leading role. The hiring and firing of top executives, and indeed all public servants, should follow due process and diligence. There is need to invest in development of human capital, infrastructure, the utilities, communication, and high-speed internet connectivity, which of course should be regulated by PURA. And there is also need to invest in agriculture and other productive sectors of the economy. With the advent of the new regime, an unprecedented opportunity is presented to us to correct the transgressions that were made in the past and set new standards that are aligned with best practices, while simultaneously ensuring that mistakes are not repeated. Unfortunately, telltale signs of position of people in power and entrusted with persons in power and entrusted with privileges are flouting them with impunity to the detriment of the nation are beginning to re-emerge. I will give you an example. Till recently, I was the chairman of the board of directors of the Food Safety and Quality Authority. I had to resign after 6 months because I have decided that I will never be a party to an illegal process that contravenes set laws, principles, and guidelines. It is no longer tenable for a whole nation to be held hostage by an individual, such as the likes of Yahya Jammeh, who undoubtedly suffered from inferiority complex, compounded by megalomania and a rabid hatred of Gambians, particularly intellectuals, and those who excel in their various vocations. In conclusion, I wish to thank my wife, a remarkable woman who dared to challenge the dictatorship when no one else had the nerve to do so. When I was incarcerated in Mile 2, she approached many of the leading lawyers in this country to help set me free. Most of them advised her to wait, and that if she proceeded with any legal action against the state, then Yahya Jammeh will be very angry, and he can do anything to me. However, one outstanding woman thought differently. When my wife approached lawyer Ami Bensouda, she wholeheartedly supported her and told her that that was the only option that can trigger action by the state. Lawyer Bensouda was the only one among the many approached by my wife who accepted the scary challenge at the time and took on the ruthless dictator head-on. Together with her formidable associate, lawyer Hadidande Njai, Jabi, the current deputy lead counsel of the TRC, against all odds, they were able to secure a court order that released me from jail. I was surprised to see that lawyer Ami Bensouda personally marched into Mile 2 and processed the papers for my release and drove me in her private vehicle from Mile 2 to Banjul. As predicted by lawyer Bensouda, my release indeed triggered an avalanche of many lawsuits from other detainees seeking to end their unlawful incarceration in Mile 2. Once I was charged with economic crimes, I was extremely opportune for my wife to secure the services of lawyer Lamin Kamara, who was her former colleague. Without hesitation, I can safely say that Lamin Kamara is indeed one of the best criminal lawyers in this country. For a period of 5 years, Lamin Kamara relentlessly pursued my case in the High Court until I was acquitted and discharged. Astonishingly, during this period of 5 years, he was never late nor absent for a single court sitting. My family and I we remain forever grateful to these lawyers who were just phenomenal. Although I cannot name all the family members, friends, relatives, and professional colleagues who jointly made my ordeal bearable, I have to make reference to some of them, like my late brother and sister, Lamin and Badara Loum, both of blessed memory, the Lumen family in the Gambia and the diaspora, my uncle Seho Omar Toure, my mother-in-law, Ajinde Seka, of blessed memory, friends like Usman Sow, formerly of the Central Bank, Modou Sise of GHE, Dr. Suleiman Sonko, and many other professional colleagues, the entire membership of Vu Master Silla of Game Senegal Street. As president of the Gambia Veterinary Medical Association, I am extremely grateful to the entire membership of the GVMA and also colleagues in the Ministry of Agriculture, the Department of Livestock Services, the Department of Agriculture, and the National Agricultural Research Institute for their formidable support when it was most needed. They all stood by me through thick and thin, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can adequately reward them. I thank you all for your attention.